What up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Charter Podcast presented by St. Xavier University. I am Alex Shapiro, and with me to break down this 34-17 loss to the Detroit Lions are Clay Harbor, the Clay Maker, and my guy, Kevin Lapka. Clay, Kev, how you guys doing today?
You know, another Sunday, another Bears loss, but our future head coach looked good on the other sideline, drawing up some nice plays. Caleb Williams had a solid day. I liked what I saw from him on a number of occasions. So there are some good things in here, but there's a lot of bad to discuss. But looking forward to getting into it and talking about it with you two gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be positive today, guys. I'm going to be positive. Last week, I was negative Nancy. Things were dark and gloomy after that Vikings game. But
we need the him watch, too. We need to know the him watch.
Yeah, the him watch. We'll get an update on it. Oh, we will get an update. You want to just get it over? He's him. He's back on being full-on force him. All right? We're going to get it out of the way here.
I mean, once you seal him as him, that's permanent. Like, that's a permanent him seal. But, you know, this is a good place to start. The Bears did not look good. The defense had another poor outing. But big silver lining is that Caleb Williams did, once again, look much better. He had stacked a couple of poor performances there on the rookie roller coaster. And we've talked about it all year. Rookie roller coaster. This was another upswing. To me, it looked like Caleb Williams was once again much more decisive. He was challenging defenders, making those tight window throws again. He was much more accurate. He looked more confident. And he turned in a wonderful stat line. He was 26 of 40 for 334 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, guys, Clay, you know, we've talked a lot about the Caleb Williams up and down. What did you see out of him today?
I'm not a big, let's get into the numbers stat. I mean, that does tell a story. But sometimes, you know, we'll see the Bears empty yards, empty calories, right? You're just getting some yards into the game. You're already out of it. Can't move the ball at all in the first half when you're actually in the game. Defense backs off a little bit, stops using their exotic looks, stops using their pressures, kind of play more of a, not a quite prevent, but just a softer defense, right? And then you start seeing the numbers and the yards piling up. I thought today Caleb looked good and did a lot of good things the entire game. He did a lot of good things against a full-out, defensive scheme. Obviously, Detroit right now has backups for their backups backup in at some positions. That defensive backfield is decimated. Kendall Vildor is out there running around. We all remember him. So, it's not the best defense in the world, but he played well against the game that was in front of him with a shoddy offensive line in front of him. A bunch of guys. You saw Tevin get hurt, Braxton get hurt. You got some backups in there. The time wasn't great. The running game wasn't really doing anything besides his 32 yards. But overall, I thought this was definitely a step in the right direction. And like I said last week, man, these games might not mean much for Bears fans as far as wins and losses for the team. But for Caleb heading into the offseason, building that confidence, having an over 300-yard passing game today, fitting into some tight windows, looking like he's getting the ball out quicker is huge, because that will just catapult him into his offseason program. Now he's looking back and looking at some of the things he's seeing success. Seeing success and having success at the end of the season is huge. My best years in the NFL and guys that I know and talked to and played with always came off of years that you had a successful end of the season, because that just catapults you into your offseason. It's momentum. Momentum's a real thing. The Bears team doesn't have momentum, but I think Caleb Williams as a quarterback is building some.
All right, Kev, you already said him watch. He's back him, even though he was always him. But please elaborate further on him patrol for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is what you mentioned in your opening statement about him. The confidence is back, right? We saw a serious lack of confidence in his game against Minnesota. And don't get me wrong, it's a tough spot. It's prime time. It's one of the toughest places to play up there in Minnesota. All those things are factors there, right? You're back home now. You get a chance to be in front of the home fans, whether they're booing you or not, or whether it's not entirely all Chicago fans and they're there for the full game. You're right. You're home. You're home. It's more comfortable. You're more confident. And we saw that today, right? You saw some better decisions. You saw that natural arm talent ability at every single moment. And here's what I mean when I say I'm going to be more positive today is those are the traits and those are the things that get you really excited. You get excited about the lack of interceptions, which has been amazing the way he's been able to extend that streak. I believe he's now 6th all time in the NFL. He's getting up there for number of pass attempts without an interception. He's getting fairly close to that NFL record, which is Aaron Rodgers at number 1, I believe, somewhere just north of 400. He's at about somewhere around 320 right now. But you see all these qualities, and I see them, guys. Alex, you see them. Clay, you see them. Guess who else saw them today? Ben Johnson on the other side of the field. To me, that's it's almost the most important takeaway from the day for me. We got a report. The best news of the day was the report that we heard before the game started from Tom Pelissero saying that there's intrigue from Ben Johnson in the Bears' job. And when you're on the sideline watching Caleb Williams make those types of plays and still looking at Rome Odunze and some of the skill position players and the tools that Ben Johnson would have to work with on that offense, it gets you really excited about what could be for this Bears team. And it was a bad game. They lost. But at the same time, I felt that a lot of their errors that led to that loss, you could kind of pin back to coaching, right? Some of those errors felt fixable. And it just leads you to believe as a Bears fan, as we go into the offseason here in a couple weeks, could they be that version of the team we thought they would be this year with a good coach next year? And with the way Caleb Williams has been playing, I feel confident that they could potentially be that if Ben Johnson were the coach.
One more thing that was just really encouraging for me from Caleb Williams was the accuracy down the field. Recently, we had seen the average depth of target be like really short, a lot of stuff near the line of scrimmage, not really pushing the ball downfield. He did a much better job of, when he had opportunities to throw the ball downfield, making the throw and making an accurate throw, getting chunk yards. One in particular, the 4th down throw to Rome Odunze, 50-50 ball. Just give your guy a chance one-on-one, because the Bears did get one-on-one against man coverage. Rome Odunze is an outstanding contested catch wide receiver. That's one of the big reasons the Bears brought him here. And it turns into a huge play. So those moments pushing down the field, like that's the stuff that's going to help this Bears offense be really solid next year. And, I'm sure Bears fans at home are watching this Lions offense being like, hey, yeah, that play action 82-yard bomb to Jamison Williams. Love to see some of that. And, Jared Goff put a spectacular pass on Jamison Williams. Jamison Williams made it past the defense. So it's excellent execution, but that's great. The stumble to Sam Laporta, and there's like speculation that was planned.
It's confirmed.
I want to hear that's confirmed.
Yeah, confirmed. Yeah, and the sideline. Yeah, and the sideline. Everybody on the Detroit Lions sidelines yelled ball to make it seem like it was a fumble. So that's just great play design. And the other thing about Caleb Williams I wanted to say too is just pocket presence. You see it. He's starting to feel the pocket a lot better, getting out of some of those, escaping from some of those sacks, and you're starting to see some of the stuff that he could do back at college. But yeah, that was an incredible call, right?
That's outrageous. I mean, that is that certainly creative. That's wild stuff and kind of gutsy. Because what if Jared Goff actually does stumble? You're fake stumbling and then you actually do fall down. That could be kind of disastrous. But turned into an easy touchdown for Sam Laporta. So
wait, Alex, listen to this. You got to hear this. So in part of the explanation, it was, discovered again, Kalen Kaler from ESPN is reporting this, post game. Ben Johnson saw Jordan Love has success on a play like this from week 1 of 2023 and a play where it wasn't designed. Jordan Love dropped the football, picked it up, finds Tucker Kraft 40 yards down the field. I don't know if you can kind of vision that play in your head, that first game of 2023, Bears end up losing to Green Bay. And he said he saw that play and actually decided to pull it off, obviously in a designed format. But I mean, look, we're talking about Ben Johnson. We'll talk about him more. Is that not the kind of thoroughness and kind of like research and preparation that you want out of your head coach? I mean, that is unbelievable. He's digging back from a blown up, unintentional play from week 1 of last year in preparation for this game. Like that's awesome. So I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah. So, we talk about this being kind of an audition. Caleb Williams in front of Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson gets to really see what this guy is all about. The Bears also got to see what Ben Johnson's offense is all about. And by the way, we're going to talk about the Bears offensive line a little bit, but I mean that Lions offensive line just reestablishing the line of scrimmage. It felt like Jahmyr Gibbs was getting first contact 7 yards down the field routinely. Had an excellent game, but let's talk Bears offensive line. Braxton Jones suffers what appeared to be a serious ankle injury. So prayers out to Braxton Jones. You hate seeing that. Tevin Jenkins, as Clay alluded to, also went out of the game with a calf injury. So Karan Amagaji was a healthy scratch today. Larry Borum goes in at left tackle, and it was Jake Curran who played guard. And the Bears were back down to a new name who actually checked in at fullback. Last week we had new name with Jonathan Ford on the defensive line. This week we had a new name, Chris Glazer, a guy who I don't believe was actually announced as a practice squad call-up because he was called up from the practice squad. I had to do some asking about this, about like, hey, who is this guy? From what I heard, he was called up 5 minutes pretty much before the game, which is why it did not get announced. So another new name, Chris Glazer, was the guy who did remember to report and check in as the fullback, as the eligible receiver on the Cole Kmet touchdown. So offensive line, I mean, they are thin. Braxton Jones does not seem like, and we don't know. This is speculation, but that appeared to be very serious. It does not appear like he is going to be back.
He's out.
So now you're looking at Karan Amagaji and you're looking at Larry Borum. And again, you are down to, if Tevin Jenkins can't come back, Jake Curran. So I guess, Clay, what's your concern level? Is this like off the charts concern level with offensive line?
It's very concerning, but I mean, they didn't do a terrible job. Obviously, got to see the all 22. But like I said, the pocket presence from Caleb was encouraging, because obviously he knows he has a faulty offensive line. He was still able to get the ball down the field. I'm not saying the Lions pass rush right now is great, obviously without some of their big-time guys up there that they've lost. But he's able to feel and sense a lot of things, and I thought that was impressive, and his escapability was on full display today. It's concerning, though. But I think Borum did a good job. But to me, it's like, what does that say about Karan Amagaji? You know, he gets one start coming from the FCS school. We already talked about it. Away game, can't hear yourself think against a tough defense. Then he comes at home. You could hear a pin drop in that stadium when the Bears run off, and nothing. There's nothing to root for, right? Bears are down. That would have been a much better chance to get him some meaningful snaps. Your 3rd round pick, left tackle, coming off of a game where he basically got embarrassed in national television, like. Give this guy an opportunity to come back and have some redemption. To me, that says that you just lost all the faith you showed you had by starting him last week in Karan Amagaji. Yeah, maybe Borum's the better backup at this point. He's your swing tackle. You had Braxton to start the game, so maybe there's a little bit more that goes into that because Borum can back up both sides, and Amagaji's the left tackle. So I don't know exactly what went into that decision, but to me, it is a little bit concerning that you don't have him even on the active roster. The guy's inactive. A week after that, give him a chance to come back. Or you're already losing faith in your 3rd round pick that didn't have training camp preseason, any snaps in the preseason at all. They give this guy another opportunity. But overall, I thought the line held up. They played okay. Caleb wasn't getting murdered today like we have seen in the past, but I honestly think we might see 4 new starters next year on the offensive line. Yeah. And obviously Darnell Wright being the only guy that's a stalwart that's going to stay there. Maybe Tevin gets re-signed. I don't know. He goes out again today. His availability to me is just a red flag. I mean, the guy is telling you that he really can't stay healthy. I'm not saying it's a fault of his own. Concussion, gets banged up here or there, shoulder stingers. Today was the calf. But I don't know if you can go in counting on a guy that has proven that he's just, whatever it is not going to be on the field and stay healthy.
Yeah. I spoke with Karan after the game, and he basically told me that the healthy scratch was a surprise. He didn't see it coming. And he had the attitude of, listen, that was not how I wanted my first start in the NFL to go. Like it's obviously not how I drew it up. But he was trying to look at it as a positive and say like, okay, that was a rough experience, but I'm going to use that rough experience to get better. And I'm going to use that to fuel me forward. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how Karan Amagaji does move forward last 2 games of the season, whether he gets a jersey or not, how he attacks that off season. But he was surprised to be a healthy scratch. And he did seem to, be trying to project a positive mindset, even though it was not a great situation. But let's do more good vibes only. I'm going to do more good vibes for my good vibes guy, Kevin Lapka. And that is Keenan Allen, all of a sudden coming on, had one of his best games, maybe his best game as a Chicago Bear. He caught 9 passes on 13 targets for 141 yards and 1 touchdown. It makes me wonder if he's finally feeling better with his foot. The foot injury, that's tricky stuff. Early in the year, he had that cleat issue that really gave him trouble in the summer and then early in the year. So I wonder if he's finally going to start feel better, or if Chris Beatty, his guy from the Chargers, who's now the offensive coordinator, is playing to his strengths. There's kind of a lot going on here the last few games with Keenan Allen. But my question for you, Kevin Lapka, is let's say Keenan Allen has 2 more games. I mean, not quite this good. 141 yards and a touchdown is great, but he puts together 2 more really solid performances to close the year. Are you bringing Keenan Allen back next season?
I think you have to have the conversation. I mean, he's got a touchdown 4 of the last 5 games, and you're talking about a connection right now that's really reliable for Caleb Williams, like especially late in these games. And you can argue whether it's garbage time or not, right? In a game like this, when they're down 17 in the 4th quarter and whatever. But on critical downs and critical moments, like when he needs to get the ball out and work that offense efficiently, who's he going to? Right? It's consistently Keenan Allen. And I think he knows. I think they've kind of established this, whether it's late or not. If I need to get a first down, if I need to get 5 yards, and I need a 1 read, that 1 read, it's going to go to Keenan Allen over Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. I don't know whether that's just trust or whether that's just he's getting lucky with the routes that are being designed for him, like you said, by offensive coordinator. So I think you have to have the conversation about bringing him back. I mean, I know he's aging, and I know people are calling him Unk, and it's father time for Keenan Allen, and he's reaching that stage of his career. I get it. It depends on the price tag, but you have to have the conversation because he has a strong connection with Caleb Williams. The only problem you have now is how much money are we allocating to this receiver room when you have a contract that you gave out to DJ Moore, who, given the stats this year, has not lived up to it, right? Rome Odunze, necessarily, it's too early to say whether he's lived up to his number 9 overall pick billing, right? But if you pay Keenan Allen money, and if you're Keenan Allen, I think he has to ask himself internally the question of, is this a team that in the later stages of my career can be a team that can win playoff games and get me that Super Bowl ring that I desperately want in my final stages of my career? That's what he has to ask himself that as he goes into those contract negotiations as well. So I think the conversation is there. As I kind of talk myself through it, it's hard to justify that much money going into the wide receiver room. But what say you, Clay?
I like what you said about the connection and bringing him back. If you have a connection with a guy like Caleb obviously does with Keenan Allen, bring him back. It's like my time on The Bachelorette, Alex. I know you're a big fan. You used to watch it every night with a glass of wine. It's
fake news. But I actually think let's put a pin in that. I think that could be good content. I think that could be good content. So let's put a pin in that.
Yeah, exactly. Alex,
Bachelorette rewatches.
Yeah. When you have a connection with the Bachelorette, like when I had a cat, she gives you a rose and you get to stay. If you have the connection, you get to stay. Okay, that's what the Bachelorette is. You got a connection with Keenan. I wouldn't mind bringing him back, running back this receiver group. I don't think the receiving crew is the problem. DJ Moore has really shown to be quarterback proof. He's had 1,000-yard quarterbacks with Kevin Lapka throwing him the football, 1,000-yard years. Rome, I think, is continuing to get better. I think the first fumble is on him. The second fumble is on him. But he's going to continue to improve. To me, it's not the receivers that were the problem. It was the scheme, like the stuff that Shane Waldron, when he was our offensive coordinator, was drawn up. Some of it just didn't make sense. You got these guys, you're not putting them in the best position to succeed. To me, that's what it's about, is your offensive coordinator knowing your personnel and putting them in the best place to succeed. So I think you could bring this back if you get a guy like, I know we're talking about Ben Johnson a lot, get a guy like Ben Johnson. What he'd be able to do with this receiving crew, I think would be great. I think a guy you don't bring back is Gerald Everett, 6 plays today, 1 penalty. Tyler Scott only had 1 snap today, which is crazy to me. He's literally on the sidelines, doesn't play special teams. The guy had 1 snap. Still got that check, though. But overall, I like the receiving core. I think Keenan has shown that he is a guy that can continue to play. And a stat that I thought was pretty crazy, I wrote this down, is that that touchdown, Keenan Allen's 45-yard touchdown, was the longest scrimmage touchdown of his career. His previous long was 43 yards, which he did twice in 2019 and 2013, according to ESPN stats and info. And then when you got Caleb, yeah, surprising, right? You got Caleb. I already talked about, I'm not huge into stats, but when you look at his last 6 games, 65% completion percentage, almost 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, 101 passer rating. Solid numbers. I wouldn't mind keeping this group together. It wouldn't be the biggest thing in the world if Keenan left and maybe you find another guy to put in there. And I think maybe Keenan being there slows Rome's ascendance into being that number 9 overall pick that you want, a superstar guy, because you have Keenan. So, I mean, it's a lot to pick apart right here, but I think there's no wrong answer in this receiving room.
I love that you pointed out that that 45-yard touchdown, because it really was a great marriage of play design and execution that we have not seen enough this season. Before that play, pre-motion or pre-snap, Keenan Allen goes in motion. It's man coverage, and we know that Keenan Allen is one of the best route runners, right, in the NFL. He's so smooth. Puts a real subtle, like almost double move on the guy where it looks like he's going to go one way, and then bam, he's running a vert. He makes it past easily. Caleb Williams, no hesitation, gets the ball out before the safety can get there. Lions had no chance. I mean, that's when you have that play design and that execution from both Keenan Allen and Caleb Williams, Lions literally have no chance on that. So that was a truly phenomenal play in that moment. More good vibes, more silver linings. Yeah. Okay, but that's probably where the good vibes end, because we got to talk defense a little bit.
Do we?
This unit is just, I mean, really looking for answers. The defensive line has looked not very good. Secondary, more breakdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs had 154 yards of total offense. And Jamison Williams also had 150 yards of total offense. You gave up 150 yards to 2 different guys. So I'll kick this to either one of you, whoever wants it. Just, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know like what the question is for the defense, because it's been so bad for so long. I guess, is it surprising that the defense is like seemingly bottoming out here?
I'll say something. I was listening into a little bit of Ryan Pohl's availability. He does it on ESPN 1000 before the game, and he was talking about what the absence of Andrew Billings shows, and Poles is talking about, it just shows you how important Andrew Billings is to the defense and whatnot. But to me, Poles, you're not saying something and kind of making people feel sorry for you that one of the guys you signed. Where's your depth? You can't just, if Andrew Billings goes down, your defense just crumbles. House of cards just completely collapses, falls down because Andrew Billings out. Obviously, you had a good year. This guy was a good free agent signing. I mean, you got him for he's one of the last guys in the market. Then you re-signed him. Love it. But just because one guy goes down doesn't mean your whole run defense collapses. And I mean, today you look at the numbers there: 34 points, 474 yards, a 58% third down conversion allowed. This is telling for Eric Washington too. He gets his opportunity to call plays again. He just hasn't stepped up, hasn't lived up to the moment. So for him, I don't, a guy that wants to take a step to being a full-time defensive coordinator calling plays, doesn't look good for him. Tremaine Edmonds, I mean, we've been talking about him for the last couple of weeks. The guy really doesn't make plays for a guy.
He had a PBO on 4th down.
Yeah, he did have the big 4th down.
I sent that in the group chat, the Tremaine Edmonds PBU alert on 4th down.
But overall, man, yeah, Montez Sweat, no sacks, no real pressures. Didn't really hear a peep from him. Was he playing? Is everybody's like, oh, he's banged up? Hit. Yeah,
he had a QB hit.
What's banged up? Have we figured that out? Everybody keeps saying he's hurt. What's hurt? If you're playing, and you need to be playing like you're $100 million defensive end, then we gave up a 2nd-round pick for the opportunity to re-sign instead of just waiting for a guy in free agency. So a lot of things, a lot of conversations to be had. The defensive backfield, obviously we know Brisker's out. Do we trust that Brisker's going to be back? No. So you got a lot of holes to fill there now from what we thought was a strong unit finishing out last year as the top scoring defense through the last 5-6 games of the season. So now it's become a weakness again. So that's a whole new thing we have to figure out. Obviously, D-line, I think, is still the most pressing need. Fill out that defensive line. You get Dexter, Billings, everybody healthy, Sweat. Now we bring in another defensive edge rusher, and you get more depth. Linebacking crew. I mean, Edmonds, is he the guy? I like Kyler Gordon, but he didn't look great today. He missed a few tackles. He got shook up like 3 or 4 times. I still think he's a guy that's got potential to be a superstar. And then obviously JJ, up and down year, but I still think he is a stalwart there in the corner. But besides that, those are the only guys I really have faith in.
Kevin, where are you at with the defense?
I mean, there's a couple things to unpack here. It's worth recognizing they're going against the best offense in the NFL, the best play designer in the NFL, and all of that is 100% true, right? It's extremely difficult to stop the Detroit Lions no matter who you are, right? Like, that is 100% worth noting here. I thought what Clay said, though, is really important about what the whole Andrew Billings thing. And again, like, you're staring like the idea, you're staring the gold standard in the face. I'm not saying the Lions are the gold standard, have been the gold standard forever, but recently they've been good in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is it would take me to the end of this podcast to read out the injuries that they have on defense right now. Like, almost their entire, like 80% of their starting defense is out. Does Aaron Glenn care? No, they're still playing phenomenal ball, hustling to the football. They have the depth there to be able to come up when guys go down, right? So that's just like, I mean, it's not like he's blaming Andrew Billings' injury on the entire, falls of the defense, but like, dude, that's one player who's not getting paid $50 million, who's not, Myles Garrett or TJ Watt. Like, we're talking about Andrew Billings here, and we're making the case that Andrew Billings being out is the reason the Bears defense is horrible. And that's not to be disrespectful to Andrew Billings. The guy's been a great player. He's been impactful, but like, where's the depth? Where's the guys stepping in, when guys go down? I mean, this is the NFL, man. This is going to happen year after year after year. You're going to get unlucky with injuries. It's going to happen. You get to week 16, week 17, week 18, guys are going to be out. That's just the way the league goes, right? How do you respond to it? How to react? How do you have the depth to be able to handle these things? And you can pin that on coaching, for guys to be prepared in those moments when they have to come in, when they haven't all year. You can pin that on, the GM on is he getting enough guys to have talent to come in and kind of show themselves in those moments. So I thought that's a really good point, Clay, that you make. And just really, again, on the other side of the field, you're looking at what you hope could be your situation in a couple of years. If you have to deal with that type of injury, luck, then you have guys who can step in there and make plays, but hard to stop the Lions. And that's a good thing. I'm spinning it, Alex. You said this wasn't going to be positive. It is positive because that guy on the other field, he proved that it is other side of the field. He proved it's hard for any defense to stop him.
One more thought with Andrew Billings. He's a very good nose tackle, but he's a nose tackle. I mean, most teams are not like scheming around their nose tackle. It's the defensive ends that are supposed to be the big playmakers. It's the cornerbacks that are supposed to be the big playmakers. And defense like this, your weak side linebacker is supposed to be racking up tackles. So is it awesome that they have a really, really good nose tackle in Andrew Billings? Yeah, of course. It is very important in run defense and clogging up those lanes, et cetera, et cetera. But again, like, nose tackle is typically not considered a premium position, like some of the other premium positions where the Bears are healthy. Montez Sweat is healthy. TJ Edwards is healthy. Jalen Johnson is healthy. So
yep,
it's just another thing to consider. Okay, let's end with some more true good vibes. And we're going to talk about Caleb Williams and his climb up the Bears single season passing yards leaderboard. He had 334 passing yards today. That gives him 3,271 on the season, 3,271 passing yards. He's already set the Bears rookie passing yard record long time ago. But now he is number 6. He passed a lot of dudes today, including Mitch Trubisky, including Jim Harbaugh, and some other guys on that Bears leaderboard for most passing yards in a season. And he's got a lot of guys in his sight. Up next, Jay Cutler, 3,274 yards. I mean, he is 4 yards away from passing that. So Cutler is 2 through 5 on the single season record. And number one since the 90s, throwing it back, our colleague, our guy at CHSN, Eric Kramer, is number one with 3,838 yards. That means that Caleb Williams needs to average 284 yards per game over the next 2 games to set the new Bears franchise record. I'm going to make this very simple for you guys. Does it happen? Does Caleb Williams get it done? What are the odds Caleb Williams gets it done? Lapka, I'm going to toss to you first.
Well, I think some of this depends on whether the Packers have something to play for in Week 17, right, or Week 18 rather. If they are resting their starters or not, that could play into it. I know I just complicated what was supposed to be a very easy question. I'm going to say no. I want it to happen so bad, but you got short week against Seattle, and then you got to go to Green Bay in Lambeau January 5th. If they're playing their guys, don't know if he's going to be able to average, what was it, 264 you said, or
284? 284 per game.
Yeah, it seems unlikely unless they're getting blown out in both those games and they rack up some passing yards. But look, it's hard for me to say that, like, to victory lap that when it happens. I mean, it's a good achievement. It's a good milestone. Wins aren't a QB stat. Where, like, I don't want to make it about the record, but, like, I mean, how significant is it to you guys? It's significant to a sense to me, for sure. That, I mean, that's a record that, you know, has haunted the Bears for eternity, right? And to be able to kind of finally break that mold is significant. But, like, if they end 4-13, you know, I mean, it's just funny. It is momentum, though, going in to the end of the year, and it is something to look forward to. But I mean, you know, it almost feels like insignificant at this point, the way the season has gone. And it's not a knock to Caleb, but it's not a knock to anything, but it almost is just like, you know, for what? It's like, for 4 wins. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's a funny thing to morally work through in your head, but I hope he gets it. That would be awesome for him to be in the record books, but it's just, you know, it's a lost season. So
Clay, where are you at with this?
I think he can. I mean, if you look at the passing defense, he's going up against Seattle's 12, Green Bay's 14. I mean, middle-of-the-road teams are pretty solid. I have a feeling that they're going to get up on the Bears quick, and the Bears are going to start throwing the football. And I'm not saying it's going to be the way you want to see it, but I think there's a good chance it happens, because when the Packers get up on the Bears, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, you know, they're throwing the ball around, and a high-scoring offense, the Bears are probably going to have to throw a little bit to catch up. You know, same with Seattle. I think Seattle, I mean, could be a winnable game, but they're still playing for something. They get up on the Bears have to throw the ball to come back. So I think there's a really good possibility. And I don't think it's going to be the balanced offense that you want to see. But it will be a nice feather in Caleb's cap to say that even though it's not, like Kevin said, it's not the way we wanted it, wins and losses are what matters. But to say that, hey, his first year didn't go the way he wanted it to. But besides all that, not the best year, you know, all ups and downs. This guy is still the Bears' all-time leading passer in his first year as a 23-year-old kid. Only had 37 starts in college. So to me, that would be something cool that he could look back on that would give him maybe a little bit more confidence and swagger. Not that he needs more of that, but it definitely helps moving forward. So, yeah, I think it would be cool. I think he gets it. If I had to bet, I would say yes.
Wow.
I think it's going to be close. 284 yards. He had over 300 today. So I'm going to go, he gets it on some back end, second half, big plays like we've seen so much out of the Bears.
Bad Bears defense could be the number one factor in Caleb Williams getting this done.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a big deal that we're even talking about this right now. If you asked me at the beginning of the year, with 2 weeks to go, Caleb Williams would have a shot to break this franchise record, I don't know that I would have believed you. I did not think – I thought Caleb Williams was like, okay, he could probably crack the 3,000-yard mark, and that would be great. I did not think he had a prayer, really, of hitting 3,800 yards. That just seemed like – I mean, the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. The rookie season, all the questions, all the everything. I just thought, no shot. So the fact that there is a shot, I think, is a big deal. And I think it is a big deal because – this season is all about Caleb Williams and, like, really establishing him as the guy, finally the guy. And it would be just another indication. We've had indications that he is the guy, right? The anticipation throws that he's made, the it factor of putting the Bears in position to succeed, to win football games that they should have won. Those fourth quarter moments that we saw earlier in this losing streak, right? Those were indications that he's the guy. And if he passes Jay Cutler, right? If he makes it all the way to top, like, Jay Cutler was a guy who was supposed to throw the ball for, 4,000 yards every year. Never did it. Justin Fields was supposed to be this dude who had all of these things. Never did it. So if he on year one already says, I'm passing Jay Cutler, I'm passing Justin Fields. I mean, he's way past Justin Fields. I'm way past all of these guys. Eric Kramer. We don't have to talk about Eric Kramer anymore in the 90s. Like, this is at the NFL in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I think that alone, like changing that narrative, being that guy, being on top of the leaderboard, I think it does matter just from an optics standpoint. And as Clay has said multiple times, from a momentum standpoint, that's something you're hanging your hat on and say, okay, I got the franchise record. Now let me go get 4,000 yards and let me take you along with me. So I do think it is a big deal. And I think, like I said, I think the fact that we're talking about it with 2 weeks ago is kind of a big deal.
I think the main difference, I feel bad saying that it was insignificant. It's not insignificant. I think he would tell you it's insignificant is really what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like, he's not going to go into the offseason and be like, wow, I mean, look at me, 3,800 yards, franchise. Like, it doesn't matter to the guys in that locker room. I mean, when you go potentially 4-13, I mean, he could throw for 8,000 yards and none of those guys would care. And I think that's what it comes down to, right? It's like, okay, the team has broken this historical record of like, we finally gotten over that hump. Okay. It has escaped us forever. Could ever get that 4,000 yard pass to that franchise leader. We look for it. Mitch Fields, we never found it. Okay. We found it. What about everything else? All right. What about, is everything else going to change now along with it? That and that's what we have to figure out here. And that's why this offseason matters. So sure, that momentum matters, but I want to make that distinction. I think he and the rest of the team and the front office and the organization would tell you it doesn't matter unless, the wins in the playoff games are coming along with it. So.
All right. Before we wrap up here, Clay, Kev, do either of you have any final thoughts? Just 2 games left in this 2024 Bears campaign.
Yeah, two games left. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Doesn't matter much for the Bears, but just continue building the confidence for Caleb Williams and that offense is going to be big going into the offseason. I know as a player that matters, and that's what you want to see. You saw some strides by Caleb today, making some of those throws, that throw to Keenan, throw to Rome, trusting his guys. You want to see that. Him figuring out some things. You can throw the ball up to Rome Odunze if it's one-on-one coverage, fitting that hole shot in there to Keenan Allen because he's such a good route runner. Continue building on your confidence, seeing what you can do, how you can manipulate defenses heading into the offseason is the most important thing. And that's what I want to continue to see these next 2 games. And, obviously it wasn't the season we wanted, but I think that you can start to see that the Bears should have their guy at quarterback. And we all talked about the most important thing this year was that. So try to keep it glass half full. It's not half empty, it's half full. So positive Clay right now. Kevin, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, if the season ended today, I'd be fine with it. I mean, watching these games is hard. I'll be honest, dude. I mean, I got Red Zone on one screen, and I'm like, I mean, there's so much great football happening across the league, and I'm forced to watch this. Hey, it's our job, and we still enjoy it. For me, the takeaway and the final statement, it's not even about the Bears. It's about Ben Johnson. It's about that's about the future, right? I mean, that's what matters here. If we're being honest, that's what matters. And I referenced that report from earlier, and I kind of want to just like open up this discussion with you guys really quickly before we get out of here. I know we got about 5 more minutes. There's been this sort of notion, whether it's true or not, that in some universe, Ben Johnson would like decline to go to the Chicago Bears because of their organizational history. He would not want to go there. The organizational health isn't good. We've had reports that he wants to be in a secure situation with hopefully, alignment and structure in the top of the organization. I think it's kind of BS, honestly, that he would to assume that he wouldn't want to come here. All right, let's list out the reasons. Caleb Williams, number one, far and away, right? You're in a major market. And these are all things that Tom Pelissero referenced. If they show him the money, this is a team that has talent. Why? Someone give me a valid reason why he wouldn't want to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I really don't know if I could think of one. I mean, potentially the whole organizational structure thing, if like it's really a red flag about the whole Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren thing. But dude, we are gifting you a situation as a first-year head coach that is almost unthinkable. I mean, you have your guy who could be the franchise leader in passing yards at the beginning of his year, with a receiver to go along with him, with talented weapons on offense. I mean, dude, you have guys to play with. You're in the second biggest football market, I would say, in the country, because of LA having those two teams, right? And it's the Chicago Bears with a chance to bring them back to relevance. I don't know where this is coming from that Ben Johnson in some world would say no to coaching the Bears. I mean, I just wanted to open that up to you guys really quick, because when I heard that report from Pelissero that he's intrigued, it just kind of brought this up to me. And look, is this not the big ticket for you guys? Because it is for me. It's almost, I know, Clay, I know you got Kellen Moore, and I know you might be a Vrabel guy, Clay. But for me, like, it's Ben Johnson or bust. This is important. I think that's their guy. They have never gotten their guy. Like, it was supposed to be Bruce Arians all the way back in the Mark Trestman days, right? It was supposed to be all these other guys. This is the guy. Go get the guy. And that's why I think it's important. So I just wanted to open that discussion with you guys really quick before we get out of here. What do you think about that?
Here's where I'm at. You look at the other vacancies.
Exactly.
And are they really that much more attractive? The New York Jets, not exactly a paragon of stability. The Saints, the Saints are definitely a well-respected organization, but they're looking for a QB. Like, they don't have the Caleb Williams. And yeah, they could have the opportunity to draft a quarterback, but the Bears really do have something, I believe, and I think a lot of teams believe they do have something with Caleb Williams. So again, you look at the other options, and is there a vacancy that I'm missing?
No, I mean, that's the only two of them now.
Yeah, maybe the Raiders, maybe the Giants.
But again, I think the Raiders, again, the Raiders, not a paragon of stability.
Yeah.
The Giants, I mean, kind of same deal, where they're in QB hell.
Yeah. So
when I look at the other spots, I actually do kind of believe Kevin Warren when he says this is going to be the most attractive opening, and if not the most attractive, like way up there. And the other ones all have their fair share of red flags as well. So it's not like there's this really golden opportunity for Ben Johnson or anybody else out there that is so much better than the Chicago Bears.
Here's and Kevin brings up some valid points here, but here's the red flag that I think that a guy like maybe Ben Johnson would look at. Say you go to Jacksonville, right? They're getting rid of Trent Baalke. They're getting rid of Doug Peterson. Ben Johnson can be able to come in, bring in his own general manager. He can bring in everybody in the staff. He will have his own power structure. He doesn't have to answer to Poles, who has to answer to Warren, who's got McCaskey, and so to me, you also have Trevor Lawrence, who's the same age. He's a young 24, 1 year older than Caleb Williams, young quarterback that can play, who actually got a decent roster out there, haven't been able to win. But to me, like you said, I played in Jacksonville. I'm from Chicago, born and raised. Bears fan my whole life. To have success, to be able to have the chance to turn around an organization like the Chicago Bears is an opportunity for a competitive guy like Ben Johnson. I don't think you can pass up. You pointed out already, Caleb Williams, Rome, you got some pieces on defense that obviously it needs a little bit of help, some tweaking, but I think it is a really good situation. If you have the conversations, you sit down in meetings, and Ben Johnson came out and said, if he is going to take a head coaching vacancy, that he wants a admission of what went wrong in the past. What are we going to do moving forward? Am I going to be able to install my culture? So I think he would go with the Bears over anybody, but it's still possible that he could be tempted by a situation like the Jaguars, where you could bring in your entire front office and have a power structure there that is completely yours and you're coming in with, and that you know more what to expect than coming in with some guys that have already shown that they haven't had a lot of success. And we'll see if we can get Alex back here momentarily.
No, that's an interesting point too, because here's the thing as well. If they get a report or somehow there's intel, welcome back, Alex. Thanks for rejoining us here. We were just wrapping up this conversation about Ben Johnson here, and as it pertains to the Bears and whether they're going to retain Ryan Poles. I mean, that's ultimately what you're saying, Clay, is if there's intel that Ben Johnson wants like fresh control, fresh new structure, alignment with the GM, with coming in with somebody new, then you have to fire Ryan Poles, right? Here's the problem. You might not learn that for a while, right? I mean, Ben Johnson could be the coach of a team that wins the Super Bowl. You might not be able to hire this guy until February, right? And the new rules, I believe, don't allow you to interview him until, what is it, after the conference championships, or that week of the conference championships for playoff teams. It's a new rule. I got to brush up on this. I'm sorry, to check on that. But it's late into the postseason that you can talk to these guys. So maybe it's too late to the point where it's late January. You're talking to Ben Johnson, and at that point in the interview, he says, "Look, I don't know. I need faith and confidence in his structure." And at that point in late January, you can't fire Poles. It's too late at that point. You already would have gone through draft scouting. You already gone through preliminary stages of free agent scouting. So there are some serious decisions that need to be made in the next couple of weeks at Hallis Hall. If this is your guy, if this is the big ticket item, and maybe there's other people that feel this way, Clay, maybe Ben or Mike Vrabel feels the same way. If there are candidates out there that feel this way, and it is a legitimate concern, and that's the only thing preventing these candidates from wanting to be the coach of the Bears, there's tough conversations that need to be had in that building of, do we have to fire Ryan Poles in order to get our guy at head coach and realign the structure of, this organization? So tough conversations to have, but I think they're important. So I just wanted to cap it off with that.
Teams can interview coaching candidates who are still employed by another NFL team after the divisional round.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
1 week earlier, but it still does. The intent of that rule was to slow down the hiring process, so that owners would maybe, embrace a wider cast of candidates. If you got to wait to interview these guys another week, maybe interview more guys over the process.
Yep.
We will be talking a lot more about NFL coaching candidates. We'll be talking a lot more about offseason. We'll be talking more about Caleb Williams on the Charter podcast. So are the Bears playing for anything in the playoffs this season? Nope. But we still got a lot to talk about. And these two games are definitely going to provide us with plenty of storylines. So thank you once again for listening to the Charter podcast presented by St. Xavier University. We have kind of a funky schedule because the Bears got a funky schedule where we are going to do a vibe check and a little preview on Tuesday ahead of Thursday night's game. And then on Thursday night, we will be back with our post-game coverage, and we will reset as the Bears reset back to their week for the final week of the season. We hope to see you there, whether you're listening on your podcast app, whether you're watching on YouTube. We really appreciate your time. So for Kevin Lapka, for Clay Harbor, I'm Alex Shapiro. Thank you once again to all of you, and hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful holiday season.